In this video, I'm enjoying a 14-course meal in a fine dining restaurant called Masala Library in Mumbai. And welcome to SugarSpiceNice. My name is Shweta, and in this video I'm actually heading for a fine dining experience in Mumbai. This is at Masala Library by Jiggs Kalra in BKC, and I've been here many times before, but this is after a long time, and the team actually invited me over to try out their brand new chef's tasting menu. So without further ado, let's head inside, check out the place and get to some yummy food. So this is what the restaurant looks like from inside. It is a fine dining place and the atmosphere kind of gives you that feeling. If you're a group of more people, then there are bigger tables, then there are tables for 4, for 2. I think the place definitely has a feel of its own. Now let me go and sit down on my table. Starting with the first course, which is amuse-bouche, which means getting our palate ready for the upcoming indulgence. And I have two things here. The first one is a lemongrass, hibiscus and rosewater panipuri with a watermelon pastrami. So I thought pastrami was meat, but they've managed to do it from watermelon because apparently the texture of watermelon can be gotten similar to that of meat. There's a little bit of that inside along with some very tasty looking garnish of save and probably some kind of a chutney on top. And this is the pani, or the sweet and sour flavored water which you have with pani puri. So this is what starts off the meal. So literally it feels like I've had super crunchy puri with like a lot of pani, and this is actually the sweet pani, the imli ka pani, and the more spicy, the more flavored one mixed, and I can feel like a little bit of mint in it. And honestly what stood out for me in this was just the texture of everything, like the crunch, the cool and yummy flavor from the pani that just like took over my entire palate. You do feel a bit of the other flavors, but I think for me it gave me that typical pani puri feel, probably a little bit more fresher, a little bit more lighter. Now I'm trying the next amuse-bouche. This is a Dahi pannacota, and this is a vegetarian one where they use vegetarian gelatin. And in the center you can see a raspberry chutney, and around it is bundi. So this is like a typical Dahi based chaat. Very interesting. The texture of the Dahi pannacota is amazing. Melt in your mouth, and the tartiness of the raspberry chutney. Definitely off to a great start. So that previous course just got us ready for more indulgence, and here we have Masala Papad. Now I don't know if it's just me or if it's you guys as well, but whenever like I'm in an Indian restaurant and I'm yet deciding the menu or thinking what I want to eat, the one thing that by default gets ordered, especially on family dinners, is Masala Papad. So here we have like a sampling version of a Masala Papad, and I don't think I've ever seen a papad which is shaped like a leaf. And also like don't miss the intricate details like the jali and stuff. Very interesting. And beneath the papad actually there's a little bit of tomato, but the main thing is the chutney foam. So this is like probably a super duper flavorful masala papad. I cannot wait to scoop it with all of the goodness and bite into it. So the papad is fried, and because it is a chutney foam, it just feels like it's hitting every part of my palate so much more better. And that little bit of tomato gives me that association with a regular masala papad. We have mocktails now. Now mocktails are not part of the original tasting menu. You can order them a la carte. I have two different ones here. One is a curry leaf martini, and when I heard that it's just like a pure curry leaf based martini, I was intrigued, and I am a little bit scared to try it. It's mixed with sugar syrup, so it shouldn't be bad at all. And this one is the Garden of Five Senses, so it's got a lot of citrusy things, pomegranate as well, and to add that Indian touch, it's got a bit of rose water for that flavor. I think I'm going to be starting with the curry leaf martini because I feel like that one I will like anyway. On top is a burnt curry leaf, and I feel like that's what gives it that super sharp flavor. But I have to say this, I didn't think I'd enjoy this mocktail this much. I was kind of a little bit apprehensive about the flavor of curry leaf, but the sugar syrup covers it all, and even the way they've made it, it's a really light one, it's a very refreshing one. Now let's try the Garden of Five Senses. The way they presented it, it's really simple and classy, and I don't know, I have a thing for mocktails which are this color. I might be silly, but whatever. Wow. I think the flavor of pineapple is really coming through, and rosewater is like such a good ingredient to blend so many different tastes and flavors together. This is a classic. I think many people would enjoy this one. Now we have the slightly more bigger dishes coming in. They gradually move from the smaller bite-sized things to stuff that's more than a bite. This is the chili cheese toastie with purple potato chips. The bread is made in-house. The brioche on which the cheese and everything is sitting is made in-house. And they tell me that it's been dipped in a maple syrup. Then there's like this really special cheese on top, which is actually 4 different kinds of cheese. And they also have a little bit of peppers inside, because that's what chili cheese toast is, right? Like essentially it's cheese, a little bit of capsicum, sometimes maybe even chutney. And then to add a bit more crunch to it, there's like literally chips that are fixed inside the toast. So these are purple potato chips, extremely thinly sliced, and they're topped with a spice mix. So let's just have one. I definitely need more of the chips on the side because the spice on top is phenomenal, and even the toastie itself. So there's a very generous amount of cheese on top, and in spite of that you can feel that flavor of the bread, especially that sweetness from the maple syrup. Very nice touch. I told you guys, I cannot stop eating the chips. The minute this next dish came on the table, there's like this aroma which is literally appetite building because it's just so tempting. So this is a broad bean tartlet because I think it's like a tiny cute size. Inside there is a saag which is made from the broad bean leaves. I don't know what broad bean is called in Hindi, so if you guys know, then leave that in the comments so even I can learn. That saag is essentially how we make normal sarson ka saag, palak ka saag. It's made in the exact same way. Tart or the canopy is filled with that, and on top are the broad beans themselves, which have been boiled, blanched and all of that and put on top. And then there's also a tempering with a little bit of mustard seeds. I think I'm going to straight bite into it because I'm unable to talk with the aroma that this brings to the table. The flavor is so good, and it's got that slightly sour flavor, which I'm told is obtained from a strawberry vinegar which they make in-house. It's kind of turned into a liquid gel kind of a form and added in it, but this is amazing. It has that little bit of spice. I'm told by the chef that they include a lot of seasonal ingredients in their menu. So during the winter times, broad bean tart is replaced with something like a methi matar malai tart, which is what is in season at that time. They actually source their ingredients locally versus having all of these fancy imported ingredients. Okay, so the next course is here, and we have 2 things. So one is the non-vegetarian version and one is the vegetarian version. This is Sali Kathal. Kathal is jackfruit, and Sali means like the thinly sliced potato wafers. A very famous Parsi dish. Sali Boti is of course the non-vegetarian version of this dish, and this is how it looks. And even the vegetarian version looks exactly the same, just a little bit of a color difference. But this is essentially made with jackfruit, and around it is extremely thin potato spaghetti or potato noodles. Like, I think it's been done the same way. There's like a sauce as well. I don't think I can explain it any better. I'm just going to have a bite and tell you how this feels. I'm living for that potato flavor, the crunch. I don't really enjoy jackfruit so much, so when I figured that the next dish is a jackfruit based one, my expectations kind of were down. But after having this, the good thing is that the jackfruit part inside is not feeling very dry. That's something that I find happens very often outside with jackfruit, whether it's a kebab or in whatever form. And even the sauce kind of thing that has been added to it, it's giving that nice, a little bit sweet, a little bit tangy flavor. It's not very spicy. Overall, the food has been not really spicy so far, at least. But this dish is interesting. Very unique ingredients and a very different way to enjoy this flavor. Alright, now we have, this is probably the last one of our small bites. After this is going to be bigger bites. So there is a kulcha at the bottom, then there's a little bit of chutney on top, and then there is chole. You know the traditional way in which they make chole, so it's that way, but it's just like mashed together and it's placed very interestingly. And on top of that is a ginger pickle which they make in-house. And in the non-vegetarian version of this, instead of the chole, you get an Amritsari fish. So this is probably like major speciality over there or something. This is what it looks like. So it's almost like a taco potato, and that's how you're supposed to relish it as well. And you can see all of that chutney down for some added flavor. It's like somebody has put together chole and everything in one single bite and is making me have that. That's the flavor that I get. And even the pickle is adding the best flavor to this. That hotness of ginger and that little sweet and spicy feel. The pickle also has a little bit of onion, which is adding that like fresh, juicy feel amidst all of that hot flavor. I don't think I enjoy pickles so much in life, especially ginger. Like I'm more of a typical mango pickle kind of person, but this is just wow. I wish I was able to get some and take it home with myself, because it's hands down the best ginger pickle I've had. Starting with the next set of tasting portions, I have one vegetarian version of it and one non-vegetarian version of it. So the non-vegetarian version is their take on chicken 65. So I've tried paneer 65, but this is chicken 65 croquette. It's topped with some gunpowder and that beautiful garnish of that curry leaf. And for the vegetarian version of this portion, they actually have sort of like a dahi ke kebab. So this is like partly dahi and partly cheese, and they maintain that crunchy croquette-like outer texture. And on top, there's some chutneys. So there is a green chutney, and then there is this thing which is made from peppers. Now this is actually a replacement for a mushroom based dish, which is actually part of this course. Dish that was supposed to be here was a Gucci yakni croquette, but because I don't enjoy mushrooms, I requested them for one without. So this is what they came up with. So in case you also don't eat mushrooms, you can ask for this. So unlike a dahi ke kebab, which is like usually melt in your mouth, there's a little bit more bite here. I think that's because of the cheese as well. The texture, like the outer texture, is really nice. It's more on the softer side, but there's still that occasional crunch that you feel. The flavor from the pepper sauce or chutney and the green chutney is phenomenal. Now here we have another bigger appetizer. So this is a potato bonda mochi. So it's a regular bonda, but it's made with a little bit of a Japanese technique infusion. They've added a bit of tapioca starch, I'm told, which will make the texture of this bonda a little bit more chewy, but still keeping it enjoyable. It's actually sitting in a peanut butter salan base. This is one of the most unique things I've heard. They said that peanut and bonda is a very good combination, so they try to experiment with it. And on the side is a peanut and garlic chutney. So this is what you get if you're eating vegetarian, and if you're eating non-vegetarian, then you get the same peanut butter salan, the same peanut and garlic chutney, but in between, instead of the bonda, is a scallop. This is up there in terms of flavor. The potato itself is nicely spiced. That flavor of garlic and peanut chutney is so good, out of this world. And the peanut salan is also something very, very different. It's a very unique take on bonda, but like you can still realize that you're eating that same aloo ka vada of sort. Very nice. Now the next course is here, and in the vegetarian version we have a squash blossom poshto. So this is basically the zucchini flower and the zucchini fruit. Fruit is when it's just kind of come up and not completely ripened, and it's attached to the flower, as you can see, and they've left it that way. And the flower part is actually stuffed with poshto. Poshto is a Bengali speciality. I think poppy seeds are one of the key ingredients. It's got a slightly nutty, slightly smoked flavor. It's actually served with this tomato chutney. Now the non-vegetarian version for this is a more Kerala-based speciality. So there is a Malabar lobster. Top of it you can see a very fancy version of a curry leaf, and the lobster is actually sitting on a nadan roast. Alright, so I don't think I've ever seen zucchini in this form, but first the chef recommended that I have the fruit. It is very, very unique. If I can describe it in the most layman terms, it's feeling like a tender zucchini pakoda. It's because it's been batter fried. And now let's have the more interesting part. See that poshto filling inside, got a very peculiar flavor, and this along with tomato chutney is like a burst of flavors and textures. Also the flavor of mustard is very, very sharp in this one. Okay, tell me something, you guys. Can you imagine an Indian meal experience without paneer tikka or chicken tikka? I don't think I can. I need some kind of either paneer tikka or paneer makhani in it. And here we have tikka. This is the second last appetizer that we have. Paneer pudina tikka. It's topped with a pudina marinade. It's actually sitting on a chunda, and being a Sindhi, I'm like, yes, this is a great day because I get paneer and chundo. And around that is actually a shredded pastry which has been oven toasted and mixed with a few spices. This is is called Katafi Nest. Looks very similar to vermicelli, but it's not. And the non-vegetarian version of this is a chicken tikka, which is sitting on a pearl barley khichdi, so a very wholesome feeling meal, and it's also surrounded with that same crispy pastry. This is the chundo. I'm pretty sure it's not like chundo in the typical way. Chundo is basically a sweet and sour mango pickle, very popular in the Sindhi Gujarati community. They've kind of jazzed it up a little bit, but let's just have all of this together. The sharpness of minty flavor from the paneer tikka is, oh my god. The sweet and sourness from the chundo is always something that I enjoy. What is interesting is the texture and the feel of this pastry. It's feeling so flavorful. Their spice mix is really something, because I know I enjoyed it even in another dish earlier. Okay, so this is our last appetizer. After this, we move to the mains. I have the non-vegetarian version and the vegetarian version. I'm going to tell you guys about the non-vegetarian version first. This is their take on a duck ghee roast, and this is a plum sauce of sorts. It's called umeboshi, I think so. And they top it with a little bit of mushroom sauce as well, which brings all the flavors together. Apparently, the texture of this duck ghee roast is something because they do it in a very different way. And this is the vegetarian version. This is Bhutte ki kees. So whenever I hear Bhutte ki kees, I remember my time in Indore. This is essentially corn, which is like really mashed, and then they've kind of foamed it up. On top, the black dust that you see, that comes from the charred part of the baby corn itself. So that also they've added. And then there's a little bit of masala caramel popcorn on the side, and in the middle is the tandoori baby corn. I think this baby corn is probably the most flavorful thing that I've had here. It's got such an amazing taste. You know, some places they have a tandoori dish, but the flavor is not as much, the feel is not as much, but this one has it all. Let's have a little bit of the caramel masala popcorn. What a way to end the appetizers. Mind blowing. So before we move on to the mains, there is a palate cleanser course, and this is a Mishti Doi popsicle. I'm fascinated with the way these things look. So Mishti Doi topped with a little bit of strawberry jam, I think, and also I can see some Rajgira or amaranth on it. Wow. Very interesting. The Mishti Doi itself is really subtle in terms of flavor. It has that lingering sweetness, of course, but this is feeling really good. I wish there was more of this. By the way, you can repeat any of the dishes that you want here, but they recommend that you wait till the end of your meal to repeat, because otherwise they feel like you may not want to, go through the whole tasting menu. So it's of course better to finish that and then ask for repeats. And as ridiculous as it may sound, I feel like I want to repeat this. Okay, now it's time for mains, and we have all vegetarian main course. I'll tell you guys what they have in the non-vegetarian main course as well. In the non-vegetarian main course, you have options of Awadhi lamb nihari or chicken with kori roti or butter garlic prawns. This is their bhindi char pyaza along with some karari bhindi on top. So char pyaza is basically 4 different ways and 4 different textures of onion, which is pyaz, which is what you can find in this. They've used it while sauteing along with, I think, tomato. So those are whole pieces. Then it's also used in the puree, which is added for a slightly more flavor. Then there is pickled onion, and then there's a little bit of fried onion on top as well. So essentially it's bhindi along with a few veggies, and it's a lot of bhindi and onion together. And for a person who loves both of these vegetables, I am super happy and excited to try this. Then we have paneer burrata lababdar. Now this is like pairing 2 cheeses together. Burrata is a cheese and even paneer is a cheese. They both have like this little complementary thing in terms of texture and flavor, which is why they go together well. So not just paneer tikka, this Indian meal also fulfilled my paneer lababdar or paneer makhani craving. So in the main course, you can decide from 3 options, but I am able to share 2 out of those 3 options in vegetarian with you. And with every option, you get Indian bread, which is roti, naan, paratha, along with some dal makhani and also papad. So let's take a little bit of everything. I think the bhindi deserves to be tried just by itself. Wow. So right now I've had like the bhindi pieces, and it does have that like little semi-gravy feel, and that flavor of onion is mind-blowing. It also has a little bit of peppers. Now I'm trying the more crunchier pieces. For somebody who doesn't enjoy onion that much, may find it a bit onion heavy, but for somebody who loves the flavor, taste, texture of onion, this is so good. I think the strongest flavor of onion is in the puree. The others I feel like are really subtle. It's hard to stop eating that crunchy bhindi. Now let's try the paneer burrata lababdar. The gravy is very interesting. It's so high on flavor. Not overly sweet, but does have that slight sweetish aftertaste. The texture of burrata and of paneer together. Part of it is melt in your mouth, but a part of it is a little bit of a chew, but it's really good. I think that's methi on top of dal makhani, which is looking superb. It is creamy in texture, but I think the flavor of garlic, methi and some kind of whole spice in the dal is what is making it feel really good. I still can't get over how it's not feeling overly heavy. Like when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, this is heavy duty dal makhani, but it's good. I think that's the beauty of a tasting menu. The portion sizes are so nicely controlled that you can actually relish and enjoy each and every course, and yet by the end of it not feel like you've overeaten. And in case you want to, you can definitely repeat whatever you like out of it. So if I was to repeat, I think I would have repeated the tandoori baby corn. That was mind-blowing. I would have also repeated the broad bean tart. That was also really good. So guess what time it is now? It's time for dessert. Can't believe it. After all of these courses, I'm still looking forward to dessert. It's actually jalebi in the form of caviar. We'll get to that in just a minute. But right now I'm trying one of their newer dessert. At least it's new for me. So this is their take on Shahi Tukra. So normally Shahi Tukra is a regular bread, fried and topped with a lot of good stuff. This is sourdough bread. It's topped with vanilla ice cream, and on top is a ginger snap tuile. Let's just go in for this because this is actually melting. I think I got everything in this bite. The ice cream, the bread and that ginger snap. And that part of crispy bread with the vanilla ice cream, that flavor is just so good. I think I'm going to try this just by itself. Along with ginger, I feel like it's also got a little bit of pista, but that flavor of ginger, so good. The beauty is that the sourdough bread is in the form of smaller bits and not like just one single slice or piece. You can still hear the crunch. Imagine after being dunked in so much ice cream for so long. So this is jalebi. They make it in the form of caviar, as I told you guys. This is rabdi and this is a saffron foam. So it takes some of everything in the bite. The caviar is slightly crunchy, just how I like my jalebi. And the foam is just so airy, just how a foam should be. But you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm going to finish this and come back to you with my final thoughts real quick. So this entire meal has been quite an experience. I've been for this kind of a tasting menu earlier in Mumbai and in other places as well. And with Masala Library, I feel like the focus now is on flavor, on ingredients, and then the presentation. I think they kind of were the pioneers in starting out things like molecular gastronomy and all back in the day when all of that was big. But now I feel like they brought back the focus on taste, which is what is most important in a meal. From a vegetarian's perspective, the menu itself has a lot of variety. I think I ended up trying some really interesting things. Aloo bonda with the peanut salan, that was something completely new for me. I don't think I would have thought of that, kind of infusion of a peanut flavor in anything. Even the tandoori baby corn along with the Bhutte kees, excellent. I think I've spoken about this earlier, but I cannot stop talking about the broad bean tart. That was also so different. Like the one dish that put so much focus on ingredients and seasonality. Even the chili cheese toast, very different, very flavorful. So a lot of different kinds of dishes, techniques from around the world have been infused with Indian palate, Indian flavors, and that I think is the unique speciality of this place. If I talk about non-vegetarian, now I don't eat, but my plus one was having non-veg food, and she did mention that the range of meats that she got to try here has been amazing for any kind of a tasting menu. Also, I don't think in a buffet where you kind of end up spending the same kind of money, you get this much variety of meat and probably this quality. So whether it's chicken, it's mutton, fish, prawns, things like duck, scallops, these are all delicacies, and to have them on a tasting menu along with so much other variety is probably one of their plus point. Now the price of the non-vegetarian menu per person is 3,100 plus tax, and for the vegetarian one is 2,900 plus tax, and this is a 14-course meal for both. So is this a place that you should visit? Maybe it could be one of the places that you could have in mind for a special occasion when you're celebrating something, a milestone, a birthday, an anniversary, or an extremely special date. I think this is that kind of a place. It's not an everyday place at all. It's a fancy fine dining place. So you guys get the drift. And I think the team has been extremely friendly, extremely patient with me because I have taken probably 3 or 4 hours to film this video. They've just maintain that pace. Also, as part of the overall experience, the chef or somebody from the staff actually comes to the table with every dish and explains to you the ingredients, the technique sometimes of preparing that dish, and even like the science behind it. So why they mix certain flavors, why they mix certain textures. That is just to give you a perspective of, having a meal in a particular way. So it's not just a fine dining place where you're coming, sitting and relishing a meal. It's also, getting into a little bit of a mindset of knowing what you're eating. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, because I absolutely enjoyed my time here, and I'm going to leave all of their details and stuff in the description box below. Make sure you check that. And that is really it from me. Don't forget to give this video a like, share it with your friends and family who will like to visit this place, and also subscribe to my channel for more. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.